Hi everyone, welcome to Zoo Conservation. My name is Dr. Matthew McKinney. I study ornithology and conservation biology here at West Liberty University. I work with small raptors like the eastern screech owl and American kestrel, as well as passerine species. And I live here in West Liberty with my wife and our 7 rescue cats. So that's a little bit about me. Let's talk about the class and how you can succeed and what you need to do in here. So I have up here the um, the Canvas page, and you can see there's a section that says "Start here." It says "Watch this first." This is hopefully the video you're watching right now. Hopefully you did that first. So when you click on that, it should bring this video up, and then you see the PDF. That is going to kick off everything you need to know to do this class. That syllabus PDF and this video. Below that you see this Module 1, and we'll come back to that in a minute and explain what that is. But let's go look at the syllabus right now, because that's got most of the information you need. So first, my contact information. You have my email here on the syllabus, and you have my office phone number. Please email me if you have questions or concerns or comments so that I can address them quickly. I check my email pretty frequently. If you call my office, I am very unlikely to be present to receive your phone call, so don't do that. You can, I'm probably not going to get the phone call. I also, because of the way IT set up my phone, do not have access to the answering service, so you can't leave me a message, or if you can, I can't get to it, so it's pretty well the equivalent of not being able to leave a message. Email me, so much better. You can also contact me through the Canvas interface messaging system, and I will respond to that as quickly as possible. I'll tell you that I respond to email faster than I do to Canvas messages, just because I check my email so very frequently. If you want to have a meeting with me, because this is an online course, meetings are by appointment only. And so what that basically means is I don't like sit on Zoom or something in a just sitting there waiting for someone to pop in. You just email me and we schedule an appointment and then we meet. And it works very well and there's no big issue with that. So just let me know if you need to have a meeting. I'm here for you if you need to talk, you have some problems with the course or something, and you want some advice, you have questions about things we talk about in the course, and you want clarification, anything like that. You can contact me and I will meet with you and we can talk it over. The course description. So what we're going to do in here is discuss. One of the nice things about graduate classes is they're not all like traditional undergraduate classes. Some of them are, but some of them are more about thinking than they are about rote memorization of facts, right? And this class is the former, not the latter. This class is about thinking about things. It's about thinking about the role that zoos play in conservation. It's about thinking about how laws and regulations impact the ability of zoos to perform conservation. It's about thinking about whether or not what zoos do is justifiably done. Is it actually worth doing? It's about asking questions about the role of zoos in conservation. That's what this class is. And we spend 3 hours, one night a week, discussing that. So that's the course. To discuss that, we can't start from a blank slate and just sit down and start talking. That's not really a very good way to generate discussion. So what we will do is we'll read. We will read a couple different books in their entirety. We'll read A Wilder Kingdom by Mintier and Green, and we will read The Ark and Beyond, which is a collection of writings from many different authors. In addition, there are a couple other texts that you are not required to get, but that we will have discussion with. or discussion from. One of those is called Zoos in the 21st Century, and the other is called Zoo Ethics, the Challenges of Compassionate Conservation. For the other texts, I will try to provide PDFs of the excerpts that we're going to use from those writings, because we will not read those entire books. Um, but you must get your own copies of Wilder Kingdom and The Ark and Beyond. So one of the first things you should do when you're done watching this video is get on Amazon and buy the cheapest used copies of those books you can. You should be able to find used copies for really, really cheap. They're just paperbacks. And get them into your address as quickly as possible, because you will need to be reading them fairly soon. This very first set of readings that we'll have, I will provide you all of the PDFs from all of the books. So, because you're not probably going to be able to get the book in quick enough otherwise, or the books in quick enough. So you'll have even the chapters that you're going to read from Ark and Beyond and Wilder Kingdom here. You'll have access to those to kick off the class. Attendance. So let's talk about attendance. You, in general, uh, for most, this really should be worded a little differently here. This is worded for a more traditional class format. You're expected to log in 3 times a week. I wouldn't necessarily say you're expected to log in 3 times a week for this class. I would say you're expected to log in for the discussions and to answer all the questions and such that you need to do in this class. That might be 3 times a week, it might be 2 times a week, it might be 4 times a week. You'll be logging in a lot. And the course requires quite a bit of self-discipline, because the assignments outside of sitting and discussing are all on your shoulders, so you have to keep up with them. You are expected, this is very important, you are expected to attend the discussions. If you miss an occasional discussion, it is really okay. I don't worry about 1 or 2 of them here or there. But if you miss and you can't be at any of the discussions, then you should probably reschedule this class within your grad schedule for a different semester if you can't participate, because your grade in part comes from that participation. And that, technically, that I guess we can take a little side step here and talk about scheduling the class right now. It's probably a good idea. So I have the doodle pull up right now that I sent out yesterday. Obviously, not everyone has had the chance to respond to that yet, and that's okay. The responses for this are, as I said in the announcement, due by Tuesday. I need them by Tuesday, because by the Wednesday, I have to have the best possible time selected from amongst these times and get the class scheduled. If you do not respond by Tuesday, your opinions on the best time to meet cannot be considered, because I'll be scheduling on Wednesday. So due by Tuesday. This is very important. You should not just select your favorite time from amongst this list of times. You need to select every time you could feasibly meet within the list of times. That is important. We have students here in the West Coast and the East Coast. There is no way that, to meet all at once, there's no way to do this very early in the day. It has to be done in the late evening. That's why the time slots are where they are. It's not because I want to teach till 11 p.m. I assure you, I do not want to teach till 11 p.m. It is just what the course requires, so that we can accommodate people on both sides of the country. Please select every time within that framework you can possibly meet by next Tuesday. Okay, so that's attendance. Attendance is necessary. Attendance affects your grade. So let's talk about grading. So I said attendance affects your grade. It's not really just attendance that affects your grade. What it really is your meaningful contribution to weekly discussion. So let's talk about, um, there's two types of discussion happening in this class. There are the weekly discussion posts, and those are forum posts. That's the first thing you see here under grading. Let me blow that up a little bit. I just realized how small that is on your screen. Right, they're 12 points each. They're smaller amounts of points, but if you do not do them, it adds up to be a pretty significant hindrance. The way those work is there's a discussion forum every week, and actually you can see that here, like right here it says M1 discussion. This is the discussion forum. There's one of those every week. There's a discussion question. You answer the question, and then you go into the other people's responses, your other classmates' responses, and then you respond to two of those as well. So that's the weekly discussion post. Then there's this thing that says questions and participation. Every week you will get questions. Here you click on this page to get the questions for this week. I actually might change this from a page to just an attachment. That might be an easier way to do that. But either way, you'll see a thing that says M1 questions, M2 questions. M1 just means module 1. And they're just the questions for that week. Those questions are directly related to the to the reading that you will be doing in the class. And so the Ark and Beyond and Wilder Kingdom, Zoos in the 21st Century, and the Zoo Ethics text, right? They're questions about those readings, which means you have to read before you can answer those questions. You have to upload those to me in an assignment, and you get points for doing that. But then, more importantly, you also have to participate in the weekly discussion. This is a critical part of this class because the real value in this class is about learning to look at different sides of things. It's about learning to talk about conservation from different perspectives. It's about learning to be critical of zoos and critical of conservation efforts in general. And the only way to do that is to participate in the discussion in a meaningful way. So your participation is very important. The combined questions and contribution to participation is worth 20 points every week. That adds up to be a very significant number of points, more than either the midterm or the final over the course of the semester. This is the thing I care the most about, is meaningful participation. So what is meaningful participation? Meaningful participation is not saying, I agree with what so-and-so said, and then not saying anything else. Meaningful participation is saying, I agree with so-and-so, and here are the reasons why. This is why I think that. That's meaningful. You're engaging your mind and you're explaining yourself. You might also say, I disagree with so-and-so, and these are the reasons why. Those are the most interesting discussions. Discussions where two people have different ideas and they're going back and forth in a not argumentative way, but in a sort of rational, uh, moderated discussion kind of way. That's what this class is all about. Okay. And then you have a midterm and a final. They're two really significant pieces of writing. You have to write about your thoughts on conservation and zoos, and then you have to write about um, essentially what is your ideal zoo. We'll talk more about that as we get close to those particular assignments, but those are basically big 20+ page research papers. Those are your only grades for the class. So you've got 2 papers that are significant, and then you have your weekly activities that you do. If you do not do the weekly activities, if you do not, for example, participate in the class, it is really difficult to succeed because a part of your grade comes from meaningful participation, meaningful discussion. Okay. when are things due? So the discussion forum posts, the ones that you have to write and then respond to, two of your classmates, those are due. The original post is due by 11:59 p.m. every Thursday, and then the responses are due by Sunday. So you have to submit your discussion post before you can access other people's discussions to respond, and you need time in between posting and responding. So that's why you have a Thursday due date, Thursday night, and then a Sunday due date. Submitting the answers to your the questions you have to answer every week for the writing, those are due anytime before we meet to talk. You cannot submit them after we talk. I will absolutely give you a 0 for that. Because otherwise, there'll be someone sitting here on Zoom filling out the answers to questions while we're talking about them. So I will absolutely, under no circumstances, accept question submissions after the due date. In general, anything that comes in after a due date will not be accepted. That being said, I know we all have lives outside of academia. We have things going on, emergencies happen, family stuff happens. For some of you, research happens, right? I know some of the students in this class have research trips that they'll be making at different points later in this semester. All of that stuff I'm very flexible with. If you're like, hey, like we have some students in here that are researching snakes in Iowa. If you're like, I have an Iowa trip next week, can I turn in the discussion stuff the next week? Of course you can. Like you're doing research. That's one of the most important things you're doing in your MS is that research. So yeah, just what it comes down to is if you communicate with me when you need extra time, and the reason is legitimate, um, I will give you extra time. If it's just like I watched movies and binged movies all weekend, I just uh, forgot to do it. It's not a legitimate reason. Um, so don't don't bring that to me. I'm not gonna be mean, but I'm gonna tell you no. All right, let's look now at the schedule. So here we have the sort of general outline for the way the course works. This first week is all about getting everyone on the same page with a schedule. After this week, if scheduling is impossible for you, it may be essential for you to take this class in a different semester. Um, I can't teach this class 2 nights a week. It's not That's not feasible for my personal life, um, and we have to meet when as many people as can meet. So uh, please get your particular requests in through the doodle poll for times that you can meet, and hopefully we can find a time that everyone can meet. This week, what you will see is you will see the this stuff, the scheduling stuff in the syllabus. You will also see Module 1, which is listed for week 2. Module 1, the modules for every week will be posted the week prior. So like Module 2 is going to be posted at the beginning of week 1. I'm sorry, Module 2 will be posted at the beginning of week 2. What did I do here? 1, 2. Yeah, Module 1 will be posted at the beginning of week 1, but for week 2. I really jumbled that up. Module 2 will be posted in uh, week 2. There, okay. Week 2 for week 3. So we will discuss Module 2 in week 3, but it will actually be posted in week 2. Does that make sense? I know I confused myself with numbers is what I did. I had a bit of a metaphorical stroke there. I'm going to say it one more time. The module for every week is posted the week prior. So in week 1, Module 1 will be posted. We will discuss it in week 2. In week 2, Module 2 will be posted. We will discuss it in week 3. It gives you a week to do the reading and get prepared, is point of that. All right. You also see on here the tentative dates for your midterm paper and your final paper. The midterm paper is due around midterm of the semester, and the final paper is due around final week. The exact specific dates are sort of TBD, um, and we will start discussing what you need to do for this sometime around week 5, probably giving you a few different weeks to work on that, and then sometime around week 14 for the final. AI. So your two of your biggest assignments in this class are writing assignments. It might be tempting to plop your stuff in to assist an AI system like ChatGPT and crank it out that way. That would be a very significant mistake because everything in this class will be turned in through the Turnitin system, and it flags AI. It's pretty good. It's not perfect, but it's pretty good at detecting AI problems, and any use of AI will result in a 0 for the class, or at least for the assignment, depending on how egregious it is. Do not use AI for your writing. This class is all about engaging your mind. It's about understanding your opinions, your ideas. I don't care what ChatGPT's ideas are on conservation. Not at all. Not even a little bit. I only care about what your ideas are. So that's the writing I want. I would rather have your writing and it be kind of bad writing than have ChatGPT's writing and it be a masterpiece. Because what I care about more than anything is what's going on up here in your mind. That being said, there are some legitimate uses of AI that are tangential to writing that I don't have a problem with. One of those would be if you want to feed some information into ChatGPT to get it to create an outline. So say you write up some of your ideas and they're helter-skelter. I don't know how to do that. I don't really do anything with AI. But I believe it's possible to get ChatGPT to generate an outline that might be useful for the structure of your paper, for example. So that's a situation that is completely legitimate use of AI, and I have no problem with that. You just cannot say, ChatGPT, write me an essay describing the optimal development of a zoo for the purposes of conservation. And, that's not exactly a question you have on the final, but it's in that the question's sort of in that line of thought. And so you can't then take that question, give it to ChatGPT, tell it, make it 20 pages long, and then send it to me. I will almost certainly detect it, and you'll be very sad at the result of that in your academic career. This other stuff is, feel free to read that, and basically it says we comply with the law. It's in every single syllabus that you'll ever see. If you have questions about those laws, let me know. Okay, and so I think that covers everything. Remember, so Module 1 will be completed and open to you this Monday. You'll see files with the questions. You'll see the discussion post question. You'll see um, a list of the readings. Everything will be in there as you click through that stuff. So do that stuff, and most importantly, get your schedule information into the doodle poll as soon as possible. All right. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me by email or through the Canvas page, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you.